Anyway, he's done that. Red lights are on, and they are going to go out, are they? Waiting for them to go out. Still waiting, and out they go. And it's a good start there by Abraham. He tries to repel James Dunn, who was attacking him down the inside line. You've got James Waring on the outside line. You've got the treble 8 car with Nigel Greensaw aboard trying to go around the outside as well. Matt Priestwood is somewhere near where he was supposed to be on the grid originally.
Oh dear.
So they turn the way through, and James Dunn has collected Nigel Greensaw, and both of them have gone off into the gravel trap at Redgate Corner. They both spear off to the left-hand side of the circuit. First accident we've seen like that during the course of this weekend. It looks like it's James Waring that's got the lead then from Will Abraham as they come down the through the Crater curves for the first time. Matt Priestwood up to third position. It's Jack Godden in fourth place as they head now through the Old Hairpin. This big field of cars turning their way through the Old Hairpin. It looks like the front half of the field has got through their safety, but not necessarily through Redgate Corner. We'll see if either of those cars have managed to recover themselves from the gravel trap, but it's Abraham who's got the advantage over James Waring in second place. We do have a safety car that will pick them up at the end of the lap, but in the meantime, and now they do get the safety car lighting panels and safety car boards being displayed, so no overtaking. Now these are being shown with both of those cars, Josh, in the gravel trap.
Yeah, I think James Dunn lost it and then he came back across the track, hit Greenstall. I imagine that's destroyed the steering on that car, because then it just drove off left through the gravel. And yeah, you said you thought there might be a safety car in this race, Ian. I'm not sure if you wondered if there would be 160 seconds in.
No, that's quite early, and of course this doesn't affect the pit stops anyway, because you can't make your pit stop in the first 15 minutes in any case. So it just gives the drivers a chance to effectively have another warming up lap or two, really. After all of that, so the snatch vehicle is already on the scene. Of course, it's got two cars to recover. I think they'll probably just get the one car off to a position where it can be either drive away if it can, or be recovered and then go back to get James Dunn car, unless they've got another vehicle that can come and deal with that more quickly. But they're able to do this fairly quickly here at Donington.
I was listening to a story earlier in the week, actually, involving Mark Blundell, and he said it's always good to become friends with the marshals, because if there's more than one car in the gravel trap, if you're friends with the marshals, they will recover you first. Because obviously they can get these cars recovered, they will be allowed back in the race if the cars are okay. And Nigel Greenstall's a friendly person, I think, and it's his car that's been recovered first. So we'll see if we can get Nigel back into the race.
And that's the car he shares with David Hudson, isn't it? Who's the reason for the South African flag on the side of the car. So they're just going to get that out of the gravel trap, certainly onto the concrete runoff area if they can, and then they sort of uncouple that and then go off to recover the second car. We'll see exactly how they deal with that. The pack, of course, is going past the incident that's being recovered. Several places made up by Dan Lavery in the 107 car on the opening lap, up into 10th position, so 8 places made up. Further back, a few drivers and teams made 5 or 6 places. Quite a few did that. Paul Offord, you can see, dropped about 9 places to 30th.
Not
on
such
the
a good
lap.
from a Great Dunmo driver, is it?
No, it was Great Dunmo, that hotbed of Essex Motorsport. And anyway, good news is that up at Redgate Corner, both drivers out of the cars being recovered.
Yeah, so they'll be recovered behind the barriers then, won't they, as drivers aren't in, as you can see. And perhaps a marshal behind the wheel just to keep the wheels in somewhat of the direction it would like to go in.
Yeah, so...
there might not be much left to the front right corner of that car.
No, it's obviously had a heavy swipe, didn't it, on the way past as James Dunn sort of speared across the front, didn't he, more or less, I think, of it. And so quite a bit of damage on the front end of that 116. Just as well, really, it's the last race of the season for these cars. And we hope that... David Hudson and Nigel Greenstall will be back out again next year. Obviously, Nigel Greenstall, an experienced driver in just about any form of racing you can choose to mention.
That's right.
But certainly he's often to be seen at club racetracks supporting sort of relative newcomers as well and helping them to learn their craft.
Yeah, well, I think I spoke to him before about 116 Trophy. He was quite a big supporter of the format about getting drivers in and taught how to drive quickly. David Hudson does some historics as well. So it's not just racing in 116 trophy, but I think we've seen lots of young drivers come in, haven't we, to learn their craft, and it's just about the most affordable way of going racing, I think, particularly in rear-wheel drive machinery. Probably the car's no more expensive really than any other budget race car.
No, exactly. That looks like there's, that car's not in the best of health either. Talking of young drivers coming into it, we've got Harry Hurst Grover on the grid today in the number 14 car. Not quite sure where he's running. I don't think inside the top 30 at the moment, as far as I can see. But he is just 16 years of age. He's from Littleborough in Lancashire. And it's his first weekend in car racing. So he's done 4 years in karts, racing for X-Kart in the junior and senior Rotax categories. He's supported here today by his parents, his sister and his grandparents. So hopefully they're having a good day. And he's also starred in Driven Dreams, a documentary about grassroots karting as well. So that's Harry Hurst Grover having his first 116 trophy race today, as we're watching the Clodhopper Racing James Dunn car, which was there towards the front of the grid, being recovered back to the paddock with a lot of gravel going with it.
I think the marshal was asking James to try and get the wheel straight, but I think the front left wheel isn't really connected to the steering arm anymore.
No, he can't do a lot. He can't do a lot with it. Unfortunately, there's bits falling off as he goes through.
There's a bit of something attached to the wheel nut, bizarrely.
Yes.
Possibly a bit of Greensall's car.
Bit of trim of some description has managed to attach itself to the wheel. But soon these cars will be out of harm's way, and it won't be there therefore very long before we get racing back underway. We've had 7 minutes of the race so far, so still another 8 minutes before the pit window opens. Having got the car that far, they now need to try and work out how they can actually get it behind the barriers, don't they? Because the car not able to steer. So that's the problem we now have in trying to recover that number 252 car. Reminder that at the end of the first lap, it was Will Abraham leading the race from James Waring in second place, Peter Keane in third, Sam Carrington-Yates, who's won many a 116 trophy race in the past, in fourth place. He's showing the car with Harry Ormerod, who's just down beneath our commentary position, I can see. Then we've got Jack Godden, who's showing his father Chris in fifth place, and Matt Priestwood, the number 173 car, in sixth position. The driver that's won more races than anybody else so far this season. He's had 3 wins. Matthew Highcock has had 2, and the other win went to James Waring at Snetterton in August.
The recovery team know what they're doing. They've attached a rope to one of the rear wheels so they can have some further control, I think, of what it's doing, and it's behind the barriers. So one further lap behind the safety car should be enough.
Yeah, I would think so. And the safety car, it's probably just too late, isn't it, for it to turn the lights out, because it's usually been turning the lights off during the course of this weekend as it sort of goes on to the Grand Prix loop. So just a little bit too late to do that now. So I'll do one lap. I imagine it will pick up the pace a little bit on the next lap, knowing now that the circuit is clear, and then the surviving cars will be able to go out into the race. But yes, just one more lap behind the safety car in this GAZ Shocks 116 trophy race.
Will Abraham's not done too many trophy races this season, has he? He's been focusing on the Sprint Championship, I think, when that became a bit less of a realistic championship winning option. I think he did Croft. He finished second at Croft with Scott Jeffs, who he's with again today. So that is the leading car. Will Abraham, who was racing in the Fun Cup at Brands Hatch a couple of months ago, was a front runner there as well.
Just looking at it, the only 2 cars we've lost are Dunn and Greensall, as we thought.
Could have been more, couldn't they?
It could have been, which it was surprising it wasn't in a way. Simon Udan did get out of the pit lane to start the race as well. He's at the back of the field.
So we didn't get Tom Sibley in at all, I don't think.
No, I don't think we did.
So there's the queue. I think the safety car sped things up now that we can get racing underway at the end of this lap. Interesting how much curb people are using there behind the safety car. But anyway, they in this one long line. So what, we've got 47 cars running. So it's still a massive grid. Still, I think, more than what we've seen in 116 Trophy before. So Abraham, Waring, Keane, Carrington, Yates and Godden, the top 5.
Yeah, Will Abraham was pipped that victory at on the last lap at Croft last time out. I'll be keen to avenge for that. The 20-year-old from Hungerford, a university student, raced for in Rotax karting and the CSC Racing prepared car that is out in front. That's number 209, and we've got James Waring, the teenager, just behind. The marshal's getting ready to remove the safety car boards because the safety car lights are out, and we're about to go racing once again with still 1 hour and 19 minutes left to go.
Good to see there's lots of marshals on the marshal post here, isn't there? So there's a good number of marshals here for a circuit which sometimes struggles for numbers, so that's good to see.
In particular on the Grand Prix circuit, where sometimes meetings have had to be switched back to the national circuit because of insufficient marshals. But great to see them supporting the 750 Motorcycle this weekend. Many, many thanks to all of you that are doing so. So here comes Will Abraham into Goddard's for the 4th time in this race, about to go on to lap number 5. The green flag waves, and the race gets back underway then. So Will Abraham, number 209, has the lead from 228. James Waring in second. Peter Keane under threat here from Sam Carrington Yates as they make their way into Redgate Corner. Carrington Yates looking to the outside line, but he can't make a way through there. And Jack Godden, who's back up to speed really in this meeting, is 5th. And Matt Priestwood, the 3-time winner, is in 6th. As they all head over the line. A few fastest laps popping up on the timing screen as cars that were mostly the safety car for the first lap are able to set some quick lap times. But Sam Carrington Yates challenging Peter Keane for 3rd position once again into the old hairpin that time, but he didn't make it through. And Matt Priestwood also looks like he wants to try and make a move on Jack Godden for 5th.
Yes, Godden was a winner yesterday, wasn't he, in the 116 sprint finale, but Matt Priestwood is on his inside. Priestwood hasn't won a race, I don't think, in either, has he, since the summer at Anglesey, so I'm sure he'd be keen to go out on a victory. Matt Priestwood in 173 hasn't got any success penalties to run with this time out. So down the exhibition straight they go. Abraham leading from the teenager James Waring, who's there in second, the 16-year-old who is sharing with Matty Street, I think, today. Or he was due to share with Matty Street, but now he's, I don't think, part of that lineup, the James Waring solo. Change for 3rd as Carrington Yates gets past Peter Keane. Matt Priestwood is coming through as well. So they're side by side on the run up towards Goddard. So Peter Keane losing spots at this point, but he's fighting back on Priestwood. He's on the inside line, and he will retain the place, I think, for now.
Yep, so next time they come through, they will be able to take their pit stops as well. The pit lane will be open by the next time they get around. Priestwood that's done the best lap of the race, 2:00.771. So he gets the fastest lap of the race so far.
That's quicker than yesterday as well. So that's the fastest 116 race lap we've seen, and only a couple of attempts slower than qualifying, impressively, despite being on larger fuel loads. Here they come, side by side still, as they have been for a little while now. Peter Keane and Matt Priestwood. Priestwood on the inside for the Craners, but Keane does have to give way eventually. Thought he might try and come back down the inside, but decided against it, it seems. So Jack Godden involved in that as well. And the top 3 have just got away a touch because of all that. Will Abraham, James Waring and Sam Carrington Yates, who's got a good exit to McLean's. He's on the inside of Waring now. Of course, Carrington Yates wasn't involved in this yesterday, but he's very much joining in today, and he gets 2nd place at Coppice.
So down the straight they go. It is still Abraham, number 209, that leads the way. Sam Carrington Yates, 21, is in 2nd, 228. James Waring is 3rd, 173. Matt Priestwood in 4th position.
102 James Allen didn't come through at the end of the previous lap, apparently.
And Nigel Greenstall's back out into the race somehow. Well, that car looked badly beaten up, didn't it, 10 minutes ago? But it's back out into the race now, obviously a few laps down. But the team have worked hard to get that ready as Priestwood makes a move there on James Waring to go third. So Matt Priestwood in the white and pink car, the powder coach from Halifax, goes through to take third ahead of Waring in that 228 car, and then just behind Waring it's Peter Keane in 151. The pit lane window is open, and already we've got drivers heading for the pit lane, Josh.
That's right. One was Carrington Yates, I think, yeah, and James Waring was the other, so 21 and 228 from that front group have come in immediately. Ben Dobbs in 104 is the next, and 34 Toby O'Reilly, 25 Ethan Hall, triple for Richard Phillips are all in. If you're a triple squad, which there's not many of actually this weekend, you wouldn't really want to pit early because you haven't done many racing laps at this stage. 28 Melissa Bexley is the next one in. So not a huge amount has gone immediately, but I wonder if it won't be much longer before others do.
No, and it's interesting you say there's not too many triple drivers, three driver teams, Tom. I think there's been fewer and fewer three driver teams over the sort of seasons that 116 Trophy has been running. I think people have realised that maybe one or two drivers is the way to go. Three drivers is good, but it can be a bit of a handicap in terms of your performance. But it does get more drivers seat time and more experience as well.
And we share the cost with more people.
Exactly, yes.
But yeah, like you say, less people feel the need to do that, and what the competitive edge.
What we're watching. God, sorry.
Car has already got a track limit warning. 321, which is Jake Muncie, who is sharing with Bert Chapman, who will be in later, the F1000 racer. Yeah,
I was just going to say, we've seen on screen Pete Brand and Dan Lavery, Dan, who had that very good first lap, made up several places. That was the battle for 8th and 9th, but of course with pit stops already happening, and Sam Carrington-Yates or Harry Ormer are heading back out onto the circuit, and James Waring as well, then obviously the order from this point on is going to be rather jumbled. 50, which is Liam Brezitz, has also got a black and white driving standards flag as well.
It seems we have lost 102 James Allen. He hasn't come through. The car he shared with Sean Frey. So we're about to see how many more again appeal in this time. Whether Will Abraham is one of those. 86 involved in a battle. That is Pete Brand, I think, going solo today now. He's caught to 107, they'll be close to the back. And 107 was started by who?
Dan Lavery.
Dan Lavery.
Will Abraham and Matt Priestwood both into the pit lane as well. So Jack Godden is the leading car still out there, number 71. Abraham and Priestwood coming in together. 87 is also coming in this time. That's Samuel Copeland, who's now driving that car solo. So quite a few more coming into the pits on this lap. That's the 151 car of Peter Keane, which is also now in for his stop. Liam Brezitz in there as well in car 50, as you can see on the inset. There's this battle going on though between Pete Brand and Dan Lavery. They'll be up a few more positions with cars ahead of them having pitted. Will they make their stops anytime soon, I wonder?
So we'll see where the cars that pitted on that previous lap come out in comparison to the likes of Abraham, Priestwood and Keane. So that should be all happening pretty shortly. But Jack Godden, the leading car in the race from...
I was going to say, Harry Onward has got into the 21 car because Sam Carrington-Yates has just appeared on the pit wall. So we know which driver's in that. I suspect Sam will get back in for the final stint. I think that's what happened at Croft last time out, where Harry Onward basically spent about 20 minutes driving around behind the safety car, and that was about it.
There's Abraham. He's about to go. If we go quiet, we can hear.
So they were almost pushing the car back out.
Yeah, no, because I think Scott Jeffs has got in and he hasn't been belted up in time, had he? So yes. I think they've lost some time in that. The CSC racing car, now we can't find first gear. We shouldn't really have been in reverse, I don't think.
No, exactly. Yes, first gear is the gear that he ought to have been in. Anyway, they make their way down the pit lane. Will Abraham now at the... Well, sorry, Scott Jeffs now at the back of that group. The car he's taken over from, Will Abraham.
He's behind the Bicknells, who were 19th, so they've lost a lot of time in that pit stop. changing drivers but not being able to do it as quickly as they would have liked. So it is Jack Godden that leads by 2.4 seconds from 80, which is Theo Millward.
Oliver Smith's in that car at the moment, I think.
Oh, okay.
Pete Brand and Dan Lavery, the two that were battling, have come in as well from 3rd and 4th positions. And as too has the Luke Fox car as well. So we do have this situation where the double and triple driver cars, we don't necessarily know for certain who is in all of them now for the rest of the race. We know who's starting them, but we don't know who's in them at any given point in time, unfortunately.
And everything's a little bit confusing at this stage as well, isn't it, with the pit stops having been done. Well, there's Omerod, and he's ahead of Peter Keane, and this could well be for our leading pit stopper. Down towards the Melbourne Loop they go. We see if anyone's in front of them. Priestwood.
Yes, and has pitted as well, hasn't he? So Priestwood there, who is in the 173 car, is a little bit up the road. Driving standards flag for car 25, which is Ethan Hall. Goes out.
How many penalties are we going to get in this?
Could be a few, couldn't they? Because we've still got an hour and 10 minutes to go. As Peter King goes up the inside of Harry Ormerod, that's for position. What may well be second position, possibly, of the stoppers. And so he will now try to track down Matt Priestwood, who's a few seconds up the road in the 173 car. He's in 25th, Matt Priestwood. Peter Keane 5.1 seconds behind him, and it's Harry Ormerod 3rd of those, but I can't see anyone else ahead of Matt Priestwood that I would expect to be. So I guess it's just a question now of whether someone like Jack Godden, who's still out there, can make a really good stop and get in and out and come out ahead of Matt Priestwood.
That's right. Big battle here here between Pete Brand and others, including Peter Keane, who had a go at getting past him. He did get past, though, Harry Ormerod recently, and now here he comes alongside on the run uphill. Towards the left-hander at Schwartz Curve, they're wheel to wheel. Pete Brand on the inside for McLean's, but Peter Keane's able to swoop around the outside and go through. James Waring's behind there, so he's lost some time in the stop as well. I think this is the problem. If you pit with everyone else, you've got to push your car back out into the into the pit apron, and you might get caught out by others. So I think if you do pit when others aren't, you probably can do a quicker stop.
Yes, there is something in that. More driving standards flags going out. That's to number 80, which is to Oliver Smith now, the car that's now pitted from second position. So it's really only perhaps 10 cars, 15 cars that have yet to make a stop now. Jack Godden, the first of those, is 86, which is Pete Brand, gets ahead of James Waring for position, and Waring is going to try and fight back. Harry Ormerod just behind as well in the 21 car as they dive their way down to the Melbourne hairpin. Dan Lavery, he's not too far behind either, because of course he was battling with Pete Brand before they made their pit stops.
That's right. Waring is waving his arms about in the cockpit of the car. They went wheel to wheel through the S's, and perhaps Waring felt they were losing time battling here. We've got the car that Bert Chapman might be jumping aboard in a moment. Could have a problem. We've got a mechanic looking under the car. The Ryan scaffolding backed 321, which Jake Munsey started. So the pit stops are plenty, as you've been saying, Ian.
Yeah, so that's cars being held until they get to the 60-second mark, of course, when it will be allowed back out into the race.
Peter Keane's in for a second time. So he is in. He's not the only one. Sam Copeland, who's in the Louis Woodward car, that's in for a second time. So some of the single drivers are going double straight away. But you could lose a lap doing that, particularly if Jack Godden stays out and doesn't pit. You will lose a lap, there's no doubt about it.
Yes, there is some risk attached to that strategy, and it could sort of come to if the safety car comes out. Waring is trying to fight back on Pete Brand. Up the inside he goes into McLean's corner. Brand is wide over the green concrete on the outside of the corner, so James Waring should get that move done. Through Coppice-Daco, yes, he's back ahead, but it's a really good scrap this going on for position. It is for 19th and 20th position. 19th, 20th, 21st is the kind of area we're looking at here. I think just ahead of them is the 80 car, which is pitted now, and we'll either have Oliver Smith or Theo Millward aboard.
But has come out probably as the second stopper behind Matt Priestwood. Oh, way up the curb there was Brand. He's been passed this time by 107, which is the Dan Lavery car.
Yeah, Brown's going to lose a few positions there. Here comes Ormerod up the inside of Lavery as well as they come into the Melbourne hairpin. And is he able to get through on the inside? Lavery still hanging on around the outside of them too. And they're climbing back up the hill towards Goddard's. There's also the 1-2-1 car involved as well. That's the car that was started by Luke Fox. It may well be AJ Duffel aboard. Now there's Paul Offord in the pit lane, who had that disappointing start to the race from his point of view. But he's just heading out for pit. Now there's Matt Priestwood in for his second stop as well.
Interesting, the teams are electing to do both these stops early, because, as I say, if you drop off the lead lap, that puts you in a risk that I don't really see the need of doing. So that's interesting, because Jack Gordon is staying out there, perhaps putting other people's plans, making them more difficult than what they had hoped. He leads by 13 seconds from Theo Tibbetts, and then Sam Holman in third. James Paul is in fourth. And I think up into fifth place has come Giles Carter. All cars that haven't stopped at this stage. So Priestwood heading down the pits, but will go a lap down to Jack Godden.
I think there's 10 cars that haven't stopped at all yet, including all of them in the first four. Jack Godden, Theo Tibbetts, Sam Holman and James Paul. And there's one right towards the back as well, the Julian Halcott that's in 27th position despite having not made a stop.
There's a big slide from the car back of shot. The in front are going free abreast pretty much. That was all right, exciting for a second. They sorted themselves out for Coffey's corner.
So we're working at lap 12 of the race for the leaders. We're 25 or so minutes into the race, 26 minutes into the race. There's Dan Lavery, or the Dan Lavery car, now might be driven by Michael Lavery, the 107 car ahead of the Luke Fox AJ Duffel machine, and then it's, we know it's in the 21 car, Harry Ormerod. Two cars ahead of him are side by side.
Nigel Greensall has set the 8th fastest lap, so that car's fairly straight despite that big hit it had. Now it's got out. Obviously it's not going to be a contender, he's 5 laps down, but lap in only about a second or so slower than the very fastest lap of the race.
The Saratoga car's entry of Fox and Duffel turns its way through Goddard Corner once again, with more than an hour of this race still to go. Along the Wheatcroft Straight. Interesting that we do still have quite a few drivers yet to make their first stop, but already a handful that have made 2. Mostly, I think, as Josh is saying, the single driver efforts. Priestwood is dropping down our timing screens now because he's made his second stop, but we'll see where he sort of falls as far as the drivers that have made 2 stops are concerned in a moment.
So James Waring's the leading stopper, isn't he, from Oliver Smith by about a second. Then Dan Lavery going well. He's the third of the cars, of the Dan and Michael Lavery car, the first of the cars yet to stop for the drivers from Bedfordshire in the DTO Motorsport car. There's loads of cars heading up towards Redgate there, including number 9, which was one of the cars that hasn't stopped yet, the Julian Howell and Michael Loveland car. But here's the race leader, Jack Godden in 71. Jack and his father Chris have been struggling with this car this season, Ian, but they've got it sorted for the final weekend. Yes,
they seem to have done. Yes, there's now a black and white driving standards flag going out to the 221 car, which is Maximus Bicknell and Andy Bicknell. But yes, it's good to see Jack Godden back on the pace. Had that win yesterday in Sprint Trophy. Have been struggling down on power much of the season, but good to see that they seem to be back up to speed. And Jack's dad, Christopher, will take over for the second part of the race. I imagine that Jack will do probably 2/3 of the race himself. Whether Christopher does a middle stint or takes the car home at the end.
Tell you what, if everyone keeps doing 2 stops, they could almost find themselves into a nice strategy here, couldn't they?
Yes.
They just keeps out. Might as well try and do something different, because if you do the same, maybe that's just sort of going to be similar to everybody else. Then, if you do something different, you could find yourself in a better place.
So we've got the 40 car in the pits as well. That's Giles Carter and Daniel Paris, drivers from Yorkshire.
Giles Carter started that car in his second season this year in the 2005 BMW 116 built by 4040 Racing. Now, this battle is pretty intense. There's 4 cars in it. 220 is at the head of the group. I think it's a battle for sort of minor positions, but it's a really good dice. Andrew Partridge and Austin Browser's car at the front of the group. I just show you, Ian, it doesn't matter if you're at the front or not really, you're going to find someone to race against because there's so many cars out there and everyone with the same type of car.
Yes, I mean they're very, very consistent in the lap times all the way down the field in the 116 trophy. So always someone to battle with.
The second car in this group is Ben Wilshire's car. Ben, who's designs racetracks, and one of his sort of colleagues in doing that was David Brabham, and we saw David drive in this car at Snetterton. But Ben himself, he was part of the redesign of the Yas Marina circuit at Abu Dhabi. So he knows what it's like when you're trying to make these new circuits around the world. And himself is he's an ex-supercar champion.
34 is into the pits. That's Toby O'Reilly and Lewis Tyndall in the Anthony Seddon Racing Run car, counting down the time to 0, and they're not ready to push the car back out yet. The driver's door is now closed, and the car gets back out into the race. That's the number 34 car.
Theo Tibbets is in, the 21-year-old from Cambridgeshire. In his first season, Carter was the TKM Festival Cup karting winner in this car that he shares with his father Matt, who's also from Cambridgeshire, the ex-autograss racer. But in the gravel is Ben Wilshire, after talking about him, the car that he shares with Will Tyndall. Well, he might get out though, this is at the S's, and hopefully he can rejoin safely because there's not that much vision there. But yeah, he used lots of lock to make sure he didn't use up too much track, and he will carry on. But James Waring, who may have passed him in all of that, and I probably didn't, he's in for a second time. So a lot of the fast guys are going 2 stops early on. Is this not what happened at Snetterton? And then we sort of had a mixed up order, didn't we, which James Waring won?
Yes, he did.
But it had sort of some more unlikely people on the podium, perhaps. We saw Toby O'Reilly pick up a podium there.
Just saw James Waring in the pits then, and the penalty for Liam Brezitz. I imagine that's for track limits. He's not yet appeared on our screen with the detail. There it is, 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits for Liam Brezitz.
Godden is in, so this might help some people's strategies out. Jack Godden is into the pit lane from the race lead. He's done 1/3 distance, and that could promote James Paul into the race lead if he stays out. I think potentially James interested in getting involved in the Swift Sport Challenge that will be introduced next year, Ian.
Yes, looking forward to that. I'm hearing from James Winstanley of the 750 Motor Club earlier on today, over 100 sort of expressions of interest, I think, for the Swift Sport Challenge for next season.
Well, if they all come true, we might have to do heats and finals.
I suspect some will fall by the wayside, but it's good to have that level of interest at this early stage. That was only announced a couple of months ago at Silverstone. It's a real entry-level point for sort of hatchback racing. There's the 78 car that did come in then, the Paul car, didn't it? It was one that you thought might take the lead if it stayed out, but it's not.
360 though has, so that is David Watt, but I think this might bring other cars onto the lead lap again, won't it? So that's not worked out as badly as it may have done for the likes of Matt Priestwood and Peter Keane and James Waring. We'll see if they are on the lead lap in a few moments' time. But for James Paul, the pit stop continues.
Yeah, so, well, there's the Godden car though. I think it probably is Jack still out there at the moment, which is making its way through the old hairpin up towards McLean's corner. That's the 71 car. Where did it come out? Can we see?
We'll have to wait to the end of the lap.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait, aren't we, for the end of the lap. That was going to come back in. 78 car goes back into the race as well. 55 minutes of the race left to go. And a busy bit of track down there at the old hairpin. You can see the Lewis White turn. Paul White, number 10 car, is at the head of that group. Paul White in the ex-Formula Ford race. Also in that group is the 209 car of of Scott Jeffs, taken over from Will Abraham.
He was 14th and about 20 or so seconds behind the leader of the one stoppers. That's how much time they lost, around 20 seconds with that long stop, where they didn't do the driver change in the sort of the 1 minute time period that they would have tried to. But I think we have got confirmation now that Matt Priestwood and the others who have made 2 stops are on the lead lap. So I wonder if that will start to bring people who have done 1 pit stop in to do their second stops and bring them on the same strategy now, which is probably the better strategy to have done 2 stops at this stage.
Liam Brezitz now has also picked up a penalty for track limits infringements. So that's 2 already. Let's see if any more are picked up. So lead now taken by the 360 car, which was started by David Watt, sharing the car with Tom Hand. But second, having now made 1 stop, is Jack Godden, and he's only 5.6 seconds behind the Watt and Hand car. So it's only now, I think, 3 cars possibly that have yet to make a stop at all.
Very busy at the final corner, but I guess the bigger point about Jack Gordon is he's 7 seconds ahead of everybody else that's pitted one. So that later stop, having a clear pit lane, I think does work out to doing a bit of a quicker pit stop.
Here's Scott Jeffs on the outside line of the Whiten and Whiten Turner car as they go into Redgate corner.
Was Jeff not at the back of this queue when we started looking at the battle?
We did, yes, he was, and he's now got past the car that was at the front of it, which is the Whiten car.
He passed something like 5 or 6 cars then, hasn't he, in a lap? Which is impressive.
More penalties, I think now one going out to the 47 car, which is the Andersons, presumably again for exceeding track limits. You can see that on our timing screen. 5-second penalty for them. So we'll see if it starts to sort of have a big impact further up. I mean, we do have the Smith car, Smith and Millward car, which has got a 5-second penalty. That's the car that's third on the timing screen at the moment. As they making their way through. 78 car is back in again for its second stop. That is the car solo driven by the man from Epping, James Paul.
Yeah, he did back to back, didn't he? So we saw him in the pits just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, 46-year-old from Epping, second season of racing, car that was built last year.
So it's Scott Jeffs. Going with him is the Whiten car, which was started by Lewis White and Turner, just ahead of 17. The Riley and Taylor car, I think just Riley today. There's a bit of damage on the one on the inside, 232, the front right section of the bonnet. I wasn't sure if it was fastened down as it should have been. The Jonathan Baker, Simon Walton, Ian Mitchell car, I think. Possibly not Simon Walton today. Let's have a look. It comes out the corner, maybe just a little bit out of sync, but probably okay.
Liam Brezitz dive for the pits as there. Well, there we saw in the background the car with the orange bonnet. Fairly distinctive livery that he has on that car, so he's headed into pit lane. Still the best lap of the race. That very early effort from Matt Priestwood, 2:00.771. Obviously, since then there's been a lot of pit stops, and of course, a very busy circuit. So not much in the way of clear laps for anybody really at this stage of the race when they're not in the pit lane.
Priestwood 2.8 seconds ahead of Peter Keane for the 2 stopped car leading cars. So that's a gap to monitor. Priestwood was half a second quicker on the most recent lap. James Waring a bit further back, the third of those.
Yeah, and Jack Godden now extending his lead to more than 8 seconds, isn't he, over the next car, which is the car on screen now, actually, number 80. And then you've got the Fox and Duffel car, that's the third of the one-stoppers, number 121, ahead of 107, Dan Lavery, and 21, which is Harry Ormrod's. The Riley car, number 17, now gets a track limits penalty.
Yes, there's quite a few totting it up. And we haven't had half the race yet. In the first 10 minutes, we've had no green flag running.
So this is a battle for position. There is Matt Priestwood. He is amidst some of the DTO cars there, isn't he, which are on different laps. Priestwood in 22nd position, but as you say,
84th position. I think that's 20th, 21st,
yes,
22nd.
you're right. But the cars that have made only one stop rather than his 2. He also has Nigel Greensall, who's just gone past as well. So there's DTO cars 103 and 101 in 20th and 21st.
121 is up to 3rd, and the second of the cars to have stopped once. Luke Fox and AJ Duffield, so they're going well.
Yeah, no, they've done well. Had a good solid run here. Obviously, pit stop went pretty smoothly as well from their point of view to get up into that position.
I don't think they've featured in the top 10 this year at the end of the race.
No, so I'll be pleased with that. So another car into the pits is the Treble 3. That is the car of the Sneeze, Damien and Daniel. Damien it was for the first part of the race. Daniel, a local driver from Ashby de la Zouche, for the second part of the race. Matt Priestwood's made good progress away from those 2 DTO cars and is now turning into Goddard, so he's pulled out a bit more time over Peter Keane, I would think, who is still about 4 or 5 seconds behind him. Just having a look, Priestwood here, he's gone across the line and he's a minute 15 behind the leader, Jack Godden, isn't he? So assuming that they're lapping in similar paces, which they appear to be, then you'd think that that's probably not enough time for Godden to get in and out of the pits and stay ahead of Matt Priestwood, I would have thought, Josh.
Since the pit stop, Matt Priestwood has been averaging a 2:01.8, and obviously Jack Godden's done less laps since he pitted. He's averaging a 2:02.1 on this stint. Peter King actually, on the average, quicker than the pair of them on a 2:01.5. So Peter King is trying to go after Matt Priestwood here. What about all these cars heading up towards the final corner? 80 is involved in that. That's the car that started the lap in 5th. The Theo Millward and Oliver Smith car. And is he still in 5th at the end of the lap? We're about to find out. No, he's gained a place. He's ahead of the Laverys because they've pitted. So the Smith and Millward up to 4th. A lot of that, though, is lapped cars that they are making their way through. 21 there, you can see on your screen, is up next. They're 5th. That's Harry Omrod, isn't it, at this stage? And then about 10 or so seconds behind is Scott Jeffs, who continuing to try and make progress. Scott Jeffs is averaging a 2:09, a 2 minutes 2.4, so not quite as quick as Matt Priestwood and co, but pretty good effort considering he's having to overtake a lot of cars to position.
Yeah, that's very true. So we're coming up towards the halfway point in this race, and yeah, we're now in a situation whereby the majority of the drivers have already made one stop, apart from I think just one car now, and several have now made 2 stops. So we're more than halfway through the pit stops in this race, but not quite halfway through the timed element of it, which means that it may settle down into the later stages. Watching an interesting plane take off from the airport and go past us. No time to be watching that though. If you look after the 187 car, which is that of George Healer, driver from Winsford, that's about to be pushed back out. There's a plain black livery on George Healer's car, very standard, probably as it was bought.
The Andersons have got a second time penalty now for track limits. The next one would be,
I think, a drive-through, yeah. In this race, it'll be a drive-through, I think. So that's 5 plus 10, and then next it will be a drive-through penalty if there's any more track limits breaches by the number 47 car between now and the end of the race. So still with this situation, the Watton Hand car has just finally come in for its first stop, car number 360. David Watt starting that car, but I think he was the last driver that was hanging out for his first stop and is doing so pretty much halfway through the race.
There's Ross Riley. He's another of those that have had a penalty, I think. He is 12th currently in 180 in 17. Just up the road is 187 George Healer after his stop.
The 80 car is in. That is the Theo Millward and Oliver Smith car. It looks like it's Smith getting into that car once again, judging by the name on the side of the helmet.
Wonder what drivers did that, make it a lot easier.
But wouldn't it? So in that case, Theo Millward's not had a lot of time in the car, has he? because Smith started the car as well.
I've got some quite hot front brakes, steaming away. So that driver change is almost complete. Door shuts on the Ellsworth BMW Specialist car. And that will shortly be back into the race. Will Abrahams and Scott Jeffs are the latest car to get a track limit penalty. For much longer, it might be easier to tell you which cars don't have track limit penalties, because there's a number of them starting to come in.
There's the 220 car, which is the Fox Lux car, which is very sideways and is going to be passed by the 221 car of the Bicknells. So that's the Andrew Partridge and Austin Browser car that was very much sideways there. And that's a very unusual place to end up for James Poole in number 78. It looked like there might have been some contact with another car down the straight, but he's gone way off to the right hand side and found the barriers there at that part of the circuit, and Marshall rushing to assist, but before he can get there, the driver drives off. He's taken off one of the corner markers as well, hasn't he? Corner markers as he's headed down the grass.
That's right. I'm not sure what the other car involved was. 9 is in, I think we can see. That's the car that Mike Loveland is part of, the ex-classic touring car racer. There is a bumper, which might be from a DTO Motorsport car.
Yes, just from the limited clues that we have. That's in the gravel trap, I think, at Old Hairpin, isn't it? That car has gone off.
Well spotted.
It's the 104 car we're hearing of Ben Dobbs. So Ben's had a moment. There's the Fly Motorsport, the RLI Motorsport car, the number 9 of Julian Howe and Michael Loveland. So that's the car that was, I think, late to make its first stop. It's I think probably its second now, though. We'll check on that as they get back out into the race. Yeah, 2 stops now made by that car, which is in 46th position. The last car, bar the Greensall car, which was obviously several laps down.
Do you remember how far you said Priestwood was behind earlier?
I think a minute 15.
It's coming down. It's 1 minute 13 now, and he's going away from Peter Keane now, over 4 seconds ahead. So Godden averaging a 2:02.3. Priestwood now averaging a 2:01.8. So that is why the times are coming down. Half a second a lap faster is Matt Priestwood at this stage.
Yes, so that's putting Mack in a good position for what would be a 4th win of the season then. Disappointment yesterday was the 107 Lavery car and the 80 Oliver Smith car managed to tangle possibly up at Redgate Corner. The Empress has now got a 10-second penalty as well. Josh?
Oliver Smith was one of our contenders, wasn't he? That car was up in the top positions earlier.
It was.
So that probably would have knocked them out.
I'd have thought so.
There's Jack Godden. He had to thread his way through all of that.
Yes, so he's going to try and make a pass now on the 8 car, and well, not trying, he's done it already as they arrive at the Old Hairpin. Just behind them, I can see, is the 25 car Ethan Hall, the 19-year-old from Newdigate, the college student in his 2nd season of racing.
And he's 27th and a lap down, so there's something like 26 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's Hall, I think, he's made 2 stops, hasn't he? But so that probably is why he is showing a lap down, but it's usually someone that's there or thereabouts inside the top 10 or even top 6 places.
He must be about 3/4 of a minute therefore behind Priestwood, who's also made 2 stops.
Something like that.
More cars are making 2 stops this time because Priestwood's up to 6th. So the 2 stop cars are coming towards the front. So it's might start to become quite obvious who our contenders are here.
Yeah, I think at Croft last time it was only with about 15 minutes after when the pit lane window closed that it became obvious.
Right.
But here it might be obvious a bit earlier. Of course, at Croft we did have 4. I think it's 4 not pit stops, safety car periods.
Yeah, I guess that confused things there, didn't it?
It did. It meant people couldn't take their stops quite as quick as they wanted to, possibly, and had to wait for safety car periods to be over.
There's Jack Godden, race leader. Leading now by, I think, 37 seconds over the Whiten number 10 car.
But only now a minute 12 over Matt Priestwood. And the Jeffson Abraham car is in. Has got a penalty, I should say. Now.
Yeah, with 5 seconds.
5 second penalty.
In this stint, Matt Priestwood has done a 2:01.9, a 2:23, a 2:6, a 1:2, a 1:2, a 1:6, 1:8, 1:7, 2:5, and a 1:6. So most of his laps are in the ones, and all of his laps are within about a second of the other, despite coming through traffic.
Impressive effort, isn't it? Very consistent. Could be useful if he ever does any more endurance racing, and I know that that's something that's very much on his in his plans as he looks to develop his career in motorsport. The former off-road racer who came into the 116 trophy last year. Second season of racing, the 3 times Polaris British SXS racing champion. And the Anthony Seddon Racing prepared car.
So Priestwood has come through in 4th. He's 4.3 seconds ahead of Peter Keane now, so it's just edging out fractionally at a time. They are a long way ahead of anybody else who have made 2 stops. One car that has just come in for the second time is 2:09. That was Scott Jeffs. Let's hear how his stint went with Matt Sucklin, who is down there in the pit lane. So let's catch up with Matt right now.
Thanks, Josh. Yep, down here with Scott Jeffs, who's just jumped out of the 209 machine. Scott, look like you're having a good run there, but we've just heard you may have got a penalty.
Yeah, I think I got just a 5-second track limits penalty, but I mean, I didn't practice or anything, and I haven't driven this car around this track, so I was pushing a little bit hard, overdriving, trying to get the pace out of it straight away. Unfortunately, I've made a couple of mistakes and gone off. 5 seconds isn't the end of the world, but yeah, I'm annoyed I did get that because I could feel myself overdriving. I just couldn't bring it in at all.
Enjoyed your stint out there and how it's gone?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It was tough. Like I'm sort of guessing at what I was doing. I didn't want to do too much because Will's been here all weekend. I wanted to make sure he has as much time in the car as possible, so we can really push now and just get on with it. I think we need a safety car to bring us back in though, as we had to stop for an extra 20 seconds on the first stop. So yeah, hopefully get a little safety car and then we'll be right back in the mix.
They're good little cars though, aren't they? Good fun to drive, I imagine.
Yeah, really fun. Like really forgiving. I think for any ability, if you're just getting into racing, it's a really good starting point. I mean, a grid of 50 cars is ridiculous. I've never raced in a grid that big, and I think that's such an attractive point to anyone looking to get into motorsport because you know, where else are you going to get that? I don't have anywhere else that's going to get that.
So you're now done for the race. You're going to watch Will and kind of cheer him on?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'll be watching every lap. Yeah, I just hope we have a bit of luck fall our way because we started to. My suit wasn't fully done up, and I didn't know. So then we had to pull the car back in, do my suit up, and then go back out. So we lost another 5 seconds there. But we're all done with the pit stops now. It's down to Will just to absolutely nail some laps.
Scott, good stint and good luck for the rest of the race.
Yeah, thank you very much.
There we go. Scott Jeffs down here in the pit lane. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Matt. Scott Jeffs co-driving the 209 car, which you can see on screen now, which has Will Abraham back behind the wheel, heading in the general direction of East Midlands Airport. And he has got 36 minutes of the race left to go. Car 17 has got a 48-second stop-go penalty for pit lane speeding even, and that is the Ross Riley car.
We said how well AJ Duffel and Luke Fox were going. They've made both their pit stops and they are in 9th place, so that is a really good run from 121. There we see Will Abraham. We just heard from his co-driver in the pit lane with Matt. Looking here into the hairpin, the Barlow's car, which had a difficult start to their campaign at Brands Hatch. It's been better since then for Lewis Charlton and Jakub Nowak. So they will come up across the line in this big group led by Liam Brezitz, who's in 18th. And then there's that lapped car between Brezitz and then Charlton and Nowak, who's 19th. And Oliver Smith's in there after his spin. Also in there, the Baker and Mitchell car. And one of the triple-driven cars, actually, the Atwood, McCullough, Ganari car in 22nd. So apart from 33, I think that is all for position. This battle pack heading towards the old hairpin, outside the top 15 though at the moment. Brexit's a bit sideways.
He did, and that's going to allow Udan to get back on terms with him. So wonderful sight these cars make, and so many of them are still circulating despite one or two incidents. That's one of the cars that was involved in an incident, went off into the barriers. There's a little bit of damage to the front of the car. It was only a fairly light touch, I think, for James Poole in the number 78 car, but some damage sustained. It's back into the pits for an unscheduled stop. It's already made its 2 mandatory stops, that car, the Humpin Queensbury liveried car. So that's out of it. Oh, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. Most of them trying to get side by side, I think, down the straight towards the S's. That time at the head of the group here that we can see on screen is that Charlton and Novak car.
Credits has dropped way back, hasn't he, in that group? There he is.
Yes.
50. So he's lost some positions in all of that. Liam Brezitz, who's been doing 116 trophy for a little while now. But lost positions there. How many cars are in this group? It must be at least 10.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's 10 cars probably, Josh, as they make their way out. So about a fifth of the field, or more than a fifth of the surviving field, still together.
232 is working its way through. The car driven by Jonathan Baker and Ian Mitchell. So that, oh, again Brezitz is sideways. He was at the old hairpin too, so he doesn't go well with that car, I wonder.
I suspect not, is the answer. The 78 car is...
That's the penalty for Ross Riley.
Oh yes, but that's the 17 car Riley, isn't it? Which I think will be able to ultimately go back out into the race once the penalty has been served.
He was in something like 12th place.
Yes.
It could have been on for a top 10 had that penalty not been applied. That was a mistake, not getting the car down to the pit speed limit in time. I presume these cars don't have pit speed limiters. They have to judge it themselves like you would do on the road.
Would have thought so. Oh, and that's the 34 car. That's probably the one that had a bit of a moment there, judging how it's lost speed. That's the Toby O'Reilly Lewis Tyndall car. So this 55 car, 18th on the timer screen at the moment of Charlton and Novak. As more penalties are being dished out.
Including for Ross Riley, so he could have been let know about his penalty while he was serving a penalty.
Yes. And so he's getting another 10 seconds now to be added on to his time for track limits infringements.
In this stint, Matt Priestwood's average is a 201.865. Peter Keane, it was a 201.856. So
wow.
Basically identical times from what I think will become our two contenders, won't they?
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, they're 6.7 seconds apart at the moment. Then another 13.5 seconds behind them is James Waring. They've all made 2 stops, and then Harry Ormerod 7.3 seconds behind him. It'll be interesting to see what Sam Carrington-Yates can do.
He'll be back in, I guess.
He's back in there, yes.
And he is averaging a 201.3 so far.
Yeah, I was going to say he's the kind of driver that could take some time out of the cars in front.
He's done 5 flying laps so far, a 1.3, 1.8, 1.2, 0.9 and then a 1.3. So they are very quick laps from Sam Carrington-Yates consistently. He's the 4th car to have stopped twice. He's 7 seconds and catching James Waring.
Yes, and he was challenging Waring, actually, as it happened, into the hairpin at the final lap at Crofts on the last lap of the race, and there was some contact there, and ultimately that he got the position, but the position was then reversed again. That's why Carrington-Yates had a penalty to serve on the grid for this race because of that incident at the last meeting.
Wasn't he going well at Anglesey too when the penalty was applied, I think?
May well have been.
Perhaps for a pit stop infringement on that occasion.
So we've got just over half an hour of the race left in this GAZ Shocks 116 trophy, with the Tibbets car from 2nd place now into the pits as well. So that's the car number 73, Matt and Theo Tibbets, into the pit lane. And then that really, of the front runners, just leaves Jack Godden. So the question is going to be, where is he going to slot in? He was a minute 10 basically ahead of Matt Priestwood at the end of the previous lap, but it's then just a question of how long it is from how much time you lose making the pit stop. It's 60-second stationary, but you've got time to get into and out of the pit lane as well, which means that you're probably losing north of a minute and a half, I would think, overall. So it'll be interesting to see where Jack and Christopher Godden slot in. I think it probably will be Christopher that takes over for the final stint as well, unless, and it is in now, that 71 car, unless potentially they decide to keep Jack in the car all race long. It would be quite useful to see if we can get a view of the 71 car in the pit lane, just to see what he's done with that. See if we can pick that up, but in the meantime it's Godden on the time screen leading from Tibbets. There we are. Looks like it, yeah, it looks like Jack's out of the car, I think.
Was he shoving his dad in the car though? Did I see?
Yes.
Give him a push to make sure he was in properly.
360 car, that was one of the cars, the last car to stop first time around, wasn't it? That's the end of its second stop now, just from 15th position.
So Matt Priestwood and Peter Keane, we think, will probably come out ahead of Christopher Godden.
You'd have thought so, and also then Christopher, with the best one in the world, probably not as quick as Jack.
Well, we haven't seen him sort of recently in a car that's capable of going quickly,
no,
so we'll see how he gets on.
That is true. So it remains to be seen what will happen, but I think it's probably going to be between Priestwood and Keane this race. We just need to keep an eye on Waring, and in particular Sam Carrington-Yates as well, to see if he can do anything. There's going to be, well, there's just under half an hour left to go, so that's going to be probably 14 or 15 laps. There is Christopher now out into the race.
Priestwood,
well, there's Peter Keane.
Yeah, I've gone through.
He's gone through. And I suspect Waring, it's going to be touch and go if he's ahead of Waring or not, I think.
Yeah, Waring's already crossed the line.
Yeah.
Probably closer to Carrington-Yates, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So if we can stick with this shot, we will see about 13 seconds later James Waring. 228, he's at the top of the hill. So James Waring, I think, will probably be through into third place. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's James Waring, isn't it? 228, the first of these cars. So he's third now.
Yes, that's right. So he's up to third position.
And being caught by Sam Carrington-Yates on the last lap by 1.2 seconds.
Little battle going on further back. This between 220 and 31. 31 car being that of Sam Holman, and I think it was Neil McDonald in the end in that car, wasn't it? And the 220 car of the Partridge and Browser car. 321 is getting a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. That's the Bert Chapman and Jake Bunsey car. Bert Chapman, who's also out in F1000 action this weekend. Change of pace for him today.
There's Waring in third. Just gone through our shot, just lapped the 103 DTO car of Steve Lloyd and Sammy Walton, I think, today. So that's gone a lap down. So there are a lot of cars on the lead lap. That is for sure.
Well, it's impressive, isn't it, that so many still are on the lead lap after all the time. But now Matt Priestwood does appear for the first time at the top of the timing screen. First time during the whole of this race, I think, that he's appeared there. Peter Keane second, 6.5 seconds behind. And then in third place, still our scenes for the moment, it's the Christopher Godden and Jack Godden car. But I think we can hear now from Jack Godden. He is down in the pit lane and he's about to speak with Matt Suckling.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, down here with Jack Godden, who's done a fantastic stint in your car, Jack. You look a little bit hot and sweaty. That was hard work by the looks of it.
No, it's never hard work. It was a little bit. It's not too bad being October. It's not too hot, no.
So you've done about an hour in the car there, so you're now handed over to your dad to do the rest of the race?
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad. I had no clue what was going on, because everyone pulls in so early, you lose track of where you are. So I just got my head down, tried to find a rhythm, and it seems all right. Dad's driving better than ever, so we'll see how he does.
Of course, you had a good day yesterday, didn't you, with the sprint race, so you want to try and carry this momentum on now to today?
Yeah, we've had so many problems with that car for about the last year and a half, just down on power, and it's been slowly coming back. And yesterday was such a good day to get that win right at the end, and now we're just here having fun, enjoying the last race of the year before the winter.
And your dad, as we said, in the car now. I think you've rejoined kind of somewhere in the top 5, so would you be happy with that?
I would. If he can bring it in the top 10, I'll be very happy.
We'll let you go back and watch on.
Thank you.
There we go. Jack Godden, who had a good result yesterday within the sprint race, now doing a good job in this endurance race as it continued with just under half an hour to go.
Yes, and they're still 5th at the moment, Jack and Christopher Godden. They're 6.9 seconds clear of the Fox and Duffel car, number 121, that's the turquoise car. They also need to watch out, though, for the car in 7th position, because that's flying. The new fastest lap of the race has just been set by Will Abraham, a 2:00.552. So he's gone a couple of tenths of a second quicker than Matt Priestwood managed on about the second lap of the race, I think, wasn't it? Or perhaps the second flying lap after the safety car that he set that time. So Abraham and Jeffs, that car flying, that is one which does have a penalty, though.
Peter Keen's got a penalty, did we know that?
Well, we do now.
So that's going to affect the overall battle, isn't it? It's been hovering under 7 seconds. We said how their average times have been so similar, but Peter Keen, I presume that's a 5-second penalty for track limits that is being awarded.
That's right.
And he's a long way ahead of the others, so that won't affect him at this stage. He's 16 ahead of James Waring. Waring being caught, though, by Sam Carrington-Yates. That gap is under 3 seconds now for a podium position. So that is one we will perhaps pick up on in a few laps' time when they get a bit closer. Chris Godden's first flying lap of 2.6. So he's only a couple of seconds slower than the car behind, and that is on his very first lap, just getting back up to speed. Not sure if he was testing here. Might not have been in a car for a little bit.
Yeah, I think Jack was saying sort of top 10 would be very good, and at the moment they are about 17 seconds clear of 10th position. That's before we start adding in penalties for people.
And one of those cars is in the pits at the moment, so that gap will be larger.
Yes.
Actually, the next car is another 18 seconds back. So top 10, I don't think it's out of the question here.
No, it's not, because they're going to get probably 12 more laps, something like that, out of this. Depending on where Matt Priestwood is. He's probably going to get 12 more laps at the end of this, isn't he? And if he's done the lead lap, then they'll get 12 more laps as well. So Matt Priestwood, the race leader then, looking for his 4th victory of the season on the road, just under 7 seconds ahead of Peter Keen. But Peter Keen, having got this penalty to be added to his time as well, a 5-second penalty. Car just being pushed back there is the 47 car of Connor and Neville Anderson, going back out into the race. There, though, is Matt Priestwood then. He's just completed lap number 30. So it's probably going to be a 42-lap race, unless we get another safety car period. We've not had one, of course, since the opening lap of the race was when the safety car was called, when we had that incident involving James Dunn and Nigel Greensall. Car 10 has a 30-second stop-go penalty for a pit stop infringement. That's the car of Lewis Whiten-Turner and Paul White, and that's the car that currently resides in 12th position.
Down into the old hairpin comes the second place car, Peter Keen, who did a slower lap last lap in the freeze, and that has allowed Priestwood to get away. 8 seconds a gap, and there's only 1 second now between 3rd and 4th, so we need to look for that battle for 3rd place if we can. 2:28 James Waring, 21 Sam Carrington-Yates, and that gap came down massively on the last lap. Carrington-Yates in a 2 minutes, 0.575, just 200ths of a second away from that Will Abraham time. So that's about 15 seconds behind the battle we were watching. There they are they going through McLean's?
That's them, I think, just heading through McLean's corner up towards Coppice. So it looked like it was still James Waring ahead. Yes, it is, of Sam Carrington-Yates car. So 2:28 ahead of 21. That's the battle for 3rd position on the road then. They are 15 seconds behind Peter Keen, who just has that 5-second penalty added to his time. Here comes Sam Carrington-Yates up the inside of James Waring into the S's, and the much more experienced Sam Carrington-Yates, and some Formula Ford racing as well in his time, has gone through to take 3rd place on the road. He's 15 seconds behind Peter Keen, who has a 5-second penalty, so effectively 10 seconds behind. Of course, if Peter Keen and that reaches track limits again, that'll be 10 seconds more to be added to his time as well. So let's wait and see what happens there.
Yeah, and Carrington-Yates has got the pace to closing anyway. He's average about 6 tenths quicker than Keen. But Keane's times are starting to drop away now because he's 10 seconds behind Priestwood. All of a sudden, it was hanging around 6 for so long. So Peter Keane just started to struggle now. So despite having to gain a place, Carrington Yates was 1.4 seconds quicker on that lap.
Waring switching to the other side of the Anderson car, which is effectively being lapped by these two. And they go through at Redgate corner. So these are the two for 3rd and 4th position at the moment in this race, which has 20 minutes just over left to run. You can see Carrington Yates here pulling away now from the rest of them. Sam, who was probably about 3 years ago, something like that, when he was winning the majority of the races, it seemed, in 116s.
Yeah.
But since then, of course, it's become much more competitive, hasn't it? Many more cars on the grid and more quick drivers as well have appeared over the years.
Maybe it's as well people getting used to how to set the cars up and how to drive them as well.
That's true, yes.
As you say, we've got more cars within say a second or so of Sam Carrington Yates at times. There weren't that many people who were able to do that.
No, not at all.
Well, Abraham's got 5th now away from Christopher Godden. Chris Gordon's been caught by the Fox and Duffield pairing who are on for their best result.
And George Healer behind has just done a personal best lap time as well in 8th place, the 187 car. The car that we can see in the pit lane, that's the 232 car. That's got some engine dramas, we understand. Jonathan Baker and Ian Mitchell.
Not an expert on BMW 116s, but I didn't think the engine was at that end of the car.
No, that's what I was thinking. So whether it's something in the exhaust, maybe. Who knows?
Well, they've lost the engine.
Yeah.
If that's where the engine is, that is the problem.
Yes, maybe. Anyway, that's Sam Carrington Yates, 21. Let's see what he's been able to do this time. Now he's got clear of James Waring.
Well, he hasn't, because Waring's still right with him. So I think Waring's now able to stick with Carrington Yates.
Yeah, Waring's just did his personal best lap that time for a 2:01.402.
They're both much faster than Peter Keane. 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, that's is interesting.
And obviously, the gap in reality is about 8 seconds, isn't it, after track limit penalties are applied?
That's correct, yeah.
And at almost 2 seconds a lap, that may be reduced by the time they get to the end of the race. So if James Waring can hang in here with Sam Carrington Yates like he did on the last lap, a podium could be on.
I imagine what he will try to do is, as you say, do exactly that, stick with him, follow Sam Carrington Yates around knowing that it's a good benchmark, and attempt to go with him and ultimately try to seal 3rd place in the race.
This lap seems to be losing track a bit more though, doesn't he, of Carrington Yates, where he was only 6/7 behind at the start of the lap. It looks more than that now.
Still 17 minutes to go in this race. I think everyone now has made their second stop because there's only 2 minutes or so left before the pit window closes. And we didn't really have any drama with the safety car occurring during the pit window period this time, unlike Croft, where it was a big feature of the race. But not this time. So Matt Priestwood in the background, coming up and over the line again to complete lap number 33.
The car in 22nd place, just ahead of him. So that's 22 cars only just on the lead lap.
Yep.
Which is almost half the field still.
It is. You can see at the back of shot there, the Greensall and Hudson car. I imagine it's probably Hudson aboard now in the treble 8 car. Car with the graunched front right corner. After it was swiped by James Dunn on the first lap of the race at Redgate corner.
Another 2 seconds caught by Carrington Yates. The gap's down to 10 on the road, 5.8 seconds rather after penalties will be applied. I think he's going to get there, isn't he?
Should think so. The rate he's going. I wonder if Peter Keane sort of is aware of that. Because Peter Keane can lap a lot quicker than he has been doing.
I wonder if he's getting a bit tired after pushing on for an hour.
It is a long old stint, isn't it, when you're doing the race solo, as Matt Priestwood has done. And of course, Carrington Yates a little break in the middle while Harry Ormond drove the car, didn't he? So he's probably a bit fresher.
think we are hearing this was an engine failure for 232 in the pit lane, so that's a retirement. So that car is dropping down the order. I think it's only about the 3rd retirement or so of the race, though. Most people are still out there, which is impressive. After that first lap drama, everything's been running okay.
Yeah, so cars that we have lost, done on the first lap, the James Allen car, the James Paul car, and now that Baker car. So I think 4 cars have now retired. So I think we've still got 45 cars circulating with 5-6 of the race now completed. Little blue flag being waved there, so that took them know a quicker car was coming in, and it was just watching Peter Keane here, and let's see what the gap is to Sam Carrington-Yates this time. We need to take 5 seconds off it, whatever it is, of course, because Peter Keane does have that track limit penalty hanging over him. There's Keane over the line, and waiting for Sam Carrington-Yates to appear. There he is. A couple of the DTO cars ahead of him on the road. And the gap now is down to 9.4 seconds. So that time through, was it 1.5 seconds taken out by Sam Carrington-Yates.
Certainly doing enough. Nigel Greensal's car's getting a stop-go penalty for pit lane speeding now.
Yes, that's saw a notification of that. So that's a car that's several laps down in any case. So not a force to be reckoned with whatsoever.
So Carrington-Yates continuing this charge. As you say, he's had a few DTO cars to lap all in one go. 105 the latest. Car I think Cole Fenton is part of. Oh, there's the behind the DTO car without the bumper, isn't it? That we've seen in that gravel trap at the old hairpin.
Meanwhile, Matt Priestwood still leading by 14 seconds from Peter Keane, so he's edging out further and further into the distance now.
Chris Godden's still over half a minute from being falling outside the top 10, so I think top 10 finish is looking likely. Jack said that he'd be happy, I think, with that, so Chris is doing a good job. He's in the 4s now, so it's only 3 seconds away from Jack's best lap on what is a long lap round here at Donington.
Yeah, and Copeland behind him, he's in 3s, and Hall as well, 4s.
Might not fall any further down than 8th.
Possibly so, which is a very good result.
Oh, did Peter Keane lock a rear wheel there as he braked for the Goddard hairpin?
Thought he might have done, yes. And he's hoping to cling on to a podium here, which would be his 4th of the season. Just depends how close Sam Carrington-Yates and James Waring can get to him. New fastest lap for Sam Carrington-Yates, a 2-minute 00.465 now, so he's got the new lap record for these cars. He took a second and a half or 1.6 seconds out of Keane that time. The gap between them down to 7.8 seconds, which when you take off the 5-second penalty is 2.8 seconds. But then Waring is another 4.6 seconds behind that. So it's going to be touch and go, I think, whether Waring can get up onto the podium here, isn't it? But Sam Carrington-Yates probably will do now.
Waring's lost touch with Carrington-Yates well and
Yes.
truly now. Now his lap times have gone back up again. So yeah, I think it's looking more difficult for that to happen. So they're all climbing up to the top end of the circuit, putting a lap on the Compton Goddard car. You've got Chris Compton Goddard, the sometimes Ferrari Classic Challenge Race winner, and I think it's fair to say he's finding this quite competitive.
Yes.
It's that car, I think, is well down the order, sort of the back end of the top 40, and it's just gone a lap down to that battle that we've been watching. And he's racing with his son Harry, which is obviously the idea of being out in 116 trophy, I'm sure.
No, and that's the great thing about it. You can share your driving with a family member, a brother, a sister, a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, whatever.
Thought we were going to go through every possible relation for a moment.
Including some relations that Tom Gadd can't identify from the earlier F1000 race. Some possible cousins. But no, it's a good way to do it, isn't it? And compete as a family. And there are a few teams that do that. Obviously, the Godden's another one. Christopher and his son Jack looking for a top 10 finish here.
Of course, it was a father and son that won the British GT Championship this year, just for the second time. So it doesn't really matter what level it is. Racing with your family, always a great thing you can do in endurance racing. Or you can race against your family member, like we saw in the Mazda race yesterday with the Beers family, both getting a podium.
That's right.
That sometimes can go wrong, though.
It can. It can. Abraham's, that's gone faster again, hasn't he? Will Abraham 2:00.313, so he's taken the. There we go. You can see it on screen now. Confirmation he's taking the lap record away from Sam Carrington-Yates.
Interesting here that generally in the sprint races this year, Abraham maybe has not been as quick as Priestwood, but on outright pace in this race, Abraham is showing stronger.
Interestingly, on the last lap, Sam Carrington-Yates lost a bit of time, only a few hundredths to Peter Keane.
Now, is that because Keane was going through lots of traffic, which Carrington-Yates has now got?
Possibly so.
Which could then put advantage back to Peter Keane. The podium is looking much more likely for Keane, but it's whether it's going to be second or third.
Yeah, he is about 13 seconds, just under 13 seconds ahead of Waring now. So Waring's got probably a bit too much time to have to make up in the remaining. It's going to be 5 laps or something like that of this race. I think I said it was going to be a 42 lap race, didn't I? So it's going to be 5 laps at the end of this one, I would think.
Notice the actor Thomas Brodie Sangster's up into the top 30, which is a lot higher than they qualified, which is good to see. Yeah,
that's the car that shared, isn't it? The 106 car with Will St James.
Did he do a bit of F1000?
I think he did, yes. So I think it was Will that started the car.
Come up.
Thomas, who made his debut at Croft last time out, had a bit of an incident there, but looks like that car should, touch wood, come home this time for a finish and a licence signature.
Come up from 39th on the grid, so they've gained 9 places in this race. Hopefully that's not their car.
It's the Lavery car, isn't it, I think, that's just emerging from the dust cloud. That's the 107.
That's right.
It was in 12th place, that car. It was a bit further up. Oh, now another spin down there, and that's the 83 car of Mark McCulloch, Ben Atwood and Stefan Guarnieri. So that's one of the 2, I think, only 2-3 driver entries this weekend. There's James Waring, and yeah, he really has lost touch now with Sam Carrington-Yates. He's 6.6 seconds behind him, and I think his chances of a podium definitely over now, unless Peter Keane's penalty gets increased for any reason.
I think there's been a change for 6th recently. George Healer has got ahead of the Fox and Duffield pairing. I think on that that battle's continuing, isn't it? Just 0.6 of a second between them. So for 6th and 7th, we have a race on to the end.
Yeah, it looks that way.
And we have that race on for 2nd, but that's not sort of on the road battle, is it? That's one on the timing screens to keep an eye on.
Again on that lap, well, that time through Carrington-Yates picked up 0.3, didn't he, on Peter Keane?
Oh, after Thomas Brodie Sangster got into the top 30, he's lost 2 spots. To Pete Brand, one of them, and the Sefferty and Roundel car, the other.
Yeah, Pete Brand, of course, someone who was indeed in the early stages much further up the order, but has had an extra stop during the course of this race. But yeah, lapping quicker than most of the cars, and sort of the 15 cars ahead of him on the timing screen.
Every time we get a shotter, there seems to be lots of cars in the front, and Peter Keane is going to have some traffic to deal with before the end. And it may be traffic he has to deal with, which Sam Carrington-Yates doesn't.
Yeah.
And that could be a factor in who comes second here. You get loads of cars just in front of the second place car. So this could become tricky. There's the gap on the road. It needs to be less than 5 seconds by the checkered flag for Sam Carrington-Yates to get second. It's currently 6.3 seconds. So the gap in reality, 1.3 second to third.
The 107's car getting a black and orange flag. That's the Lavery car. That's the car that's just gone off. So maybe some bodywork has been dislodged or something like that, or something more substantial.
Looked like the bumper came loose, I think.
So they want to bring that car in to get that attended to. Well, there's only 6 minutes of the race left, so that'll be a frustration that they'll just lose time as a result, or lose more time as a result of that.
So Keane with the traffic. Carrington-Yates is obviously 6 seconds away from it.
Yeah, but he did have a good lap that time. He made it 1.2 seconds on Keane that time through. So then now sort of 1.4 seconds away from where he needs to be. Sam Carrington-Yates in the number 21 car to get second place away from Peter Keane.
He can see the traffic ahead. Up the hill he goes. Always Keane is going to end up with more traffic, isn't he? Not unless it's the same amount, but it's so many cars that Peter Keane has got to pass. He's done 2 of them, including 33, I think, the Simon and Sean Urden car that had the problems right at the beginning. So through the S's goes Keane. Peter Keane that's had a second and a couple of thirds this year. Sam Carrington-Yates and Harry Omerod have had a 4th. just a massive BMW 116s. And Peter Keane flashes his lights.
Yeah, he's keen to try and get through, isn't he, to clear the traffic just as quickly as he can.
It's like going home on the M1 and there's a BMW driver behind you that wants to get on with things.
It's all BMW drivers, though. So Keane has got sort of 4 cars immediately in front of him. There's probably another 3 or 4 cars after that. And the gap down from Keane to Carrington-Yates to less than 5 seconds now. So Carrington-Yates, once the penalty is applied, will be ahead now of Peter Keane, because the gap's down to 4.1 seconds. But Carrington-Yates will be catching this traffic, but there's only 3 laps to go, including the one they've just started. So how much of it will they need to deal with before the end, or how much will Sam Carrington-Yates need to deal with before the end?
Probably most of them, I would have thought. Tyre squeal. See, is that Steve Jones taking a shelter in the background?
Yeah, at least he's not got his shorts on today, unlike at Anglesey. We picked him up on the live stream. 3.5 minutes to go then, 2 more laps probably at the end of this one.
I think there's about a dozen cars, if not more, in this queue. There's probably a lot of them are battling for position, aren't they?
Yeah, there's some quick drives in there. You've got the Oliver Smith car, which is quick in there.
So it's about of a 17th place there. You've got Melissa Bexley right behind Oliver Smith. Then you've got the Bicknells. And side by side with Paul Offord, who's getting on screen again. But he's about to go a lap down to Peter Keane.
His race has improved. He's back up to 20th now, isn't he, Paul Offord? Although he just lost a place on the last lap, but he had dropped a bit further back down than that, I think, earlier on.
That's right. Oliver Smith's race sort of went a bit wrong when he had his spin at Redgate. So Paul Offord might be about to lose his 20th position, I think. Is that Freddie Tatham involved in this in 89? Peter Keane's on the flasher again. Through the penultimate corner. They're going to get 2 more laps.
Yeah.
Matt Priest would still lead. We haven't seen him for ages. But, he's out front. He's 16 seconds ahead of Peter Keane on the road. He's now only 2.7 ahead of Sam Carrington-Yates.
221 car having a look. That's the Bicknell car trying to get 17th place away from Melissa Bexley there in number 28. And it always got a little bit too close between them. There's a bit of a touch between the Bicknells and Bexley that time as they went through Hollywood, down the crane as they go. I think it's the Bicknells that are going to go through, but you've got Peter Keane also trying to get past them somewhere in that queue. Now there he is, Sam Carrington-Yates, number 21, continuing to, I think, close the gap. Yeah, it was down to 2.7 seconds from 4.2, and the car going slowly is that the 82 car? We don't have an 82 car. 42 car of David Hornsey and Darren Constant. It's the car that was going slowly there. Number 1 in shot is Paul Offord, who we were talking about a moment ago. Just now behind Melissa Bexley.
Yeah, he's on the inside of the 31-year-old from Sunderland, Mel Bexley, who's also raced in the Armed Forces Racing Challenge previously.
The Goddard's are in danger of losing 8th position now to the number 87 car of Samuel Copeland here, because there's only half a second between them now, and Copeland lapping a bit faster as Peter Keane now clears and laps the number 80 car of Oliver Smith. Oh, and he's gone past Liam Brezitz, who was nearly stationary, and Keane all over the grass as a result of that, avoiding a slower car. And that's got Sam Carrington-Yates even closer to him than he was before.
Carrington-Yates has got to watch out because there's loads of cars around him, all breaking down into that Melbourne hairpin, which is always sort of a heart-in-your-mouth moment, hoping that everyone's got their braking zone right. We saw earlier what could go wrong like it did for Ben Rowe.
Matt Priestwood's gone on to his final lap of the race already. In the lead, the number 173 car. There's the car that's second on the road, Peter Keane. And the next car, third on the road, is the 21 car of Sam Carrington-Yates, who could even get him actually not just on corrected times now, but actually on the track as well. 9 tenths between them. Carrington-Yates is now flashing his lights, as Peter Keane had been a little bit earlier.
Freddie Tatham in that battle gained 4 positions on that lap. He's up to 16th. Oliver Smith dropped back. Liam Breddock lost the most positions. We saw him slow through the S's.
So, half a lap to go for Peter Keane. So, come on, extra huge battles going on in the background through the trainer curves. Matt Priestwood about 20 seconds ahead of these two. There's yellow flags at Schwant's curve.
That's where that car was slow, wasn't it?
Yeah, and who was that? That was the number 9 car of Julian Howard, Michael Loveland, that's rejoining the circuit. Here's the fight for second, heading up towards Coppice Corner. Keane against Carrington-Yates. They're turning their way now out of Coppice. And this huge pack of cars follows them through. You wouldn't know this was lap 42, final lap of a 90-minute race. They're heading down towards the S's now. So Matt Priestwood will already be somewhere down at the Melbourne hairpin for the final time in the 173 car. I'm just going to see if we can see a change for position on the road here. Doesn't need to happen for Sam Carrington-Yates. He's going to have a look up the inside anyway into the Melbourne hairpin, and he's going to do it, I think. Yes, he has. Meanwhile, Matt Priestwood comes out of the final corner. He takes the checkered flag, and it's 4 wins this season in the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy for Matt Priestwood. 4 wins out of 7 races, and it's side by side for second as they come into the final corner. It is Sam Carrington-Yates ahead on the road, and he's going to stay that way ahead of Peter Keane. So it's going to be Sam Carrington-Yates in second place, Peter Keane third. I think he is more than 5 seconds clear of James Waring, who is yet to appear. He'll appear somewhere behind all of this. Oh no, he's in the middle of that, I beg your pardon. But nevertheless, he is more than 5 seconds behind. 3.6 seconds he's going to be eventually behind Peter Keane. 5th place for the moment is Will Abraham and Scott Jeffs, but they've got a penalty to be applied, but that probably isn't going to hurt them, I don't think, because there's quite a long gap back then to the 6th place car, which is the 187 of George Healer, who comes through now.
Just ahead of the 121, it's nose to tail behind.
That's the Fox and Duffel car with its bodywork, its rear bumper flapping. They cross the line 0.4 of a second behind. The Fox Duffel car does a personal best lap of 2:01.978 on the final lap of the race, so that's for 7th place. 8th place, I think, is going to go the way of number 87, Samuel Copeland. There is that car, and the Goddens take 9th place, I think. Jack and Christopher Godden, they do, and Ethan Hall, there he is. No, he's not there quite yet. He's going to take 10th place in the number 25 car. There he is now, just out of the final corner to complete the top 10.
Well, apart from the first corner incident, there weren't any safety cars.
No, and
so not during that pit stop period, more importantly.
No, and that I guess did come as a bit of a surprise, didn't it? That we got away with that. I mean, it was inevitable with so many cars on track. There would be some incident that brought about the safety car, but it happened very early on. And that could have happened in any race, really, couldn't it? That kind of thing.
Well, it didn't catch out lots of cars. It was just a 2-car incident.
It easily could have been turned into something much bigger than it was, but fortunately, that wasn't the case.
What's happened to the Lewis Charlton car? Because it's not taken the flag.
No, it's not, and ought to have done by now. In fact, I think that was it just coming through.
Yeah, I wonder if they saw the flag perhaps before they should have done.
Yes, anyway. Let's have a look at some results then at the end of that 42-lap race for the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy. The win to number 173, Mac Priestwood, ahead of number 21, Sam Carrington-Yates and Harry Ormond, 19.15 seconds, 7 seconds between them. Third went the way of number 151, which was Peter Keane. Fourth was number 228, which was James Waring. Fifth, number 209, that was Will Abraham and Scott Jeffs. Sixth was number 187, George Healer. Seventh, number 121, Luke Fox and AJ Duffel. Eighth, number 87, Sam Copeland. Ninth, number 71, Jack and Christopher Godden. And rounding out the top 10 was number 25, Ethan Hall, ahead of the Tibbets family, Richard Phillips, the Charlton and Novak car 13th, and Freddie Tatham 14th. Further back, number 34, Tinsel and O'Reilly were 15th, ahead of Melissa Bexley. Jim Allen in the 247 car, and then the Bicknells 221. Lewis White and Turner and Paul Whiten were 19th, and Paul Offord completed the top 20. And we'll let the rest of them, because there's a lot of them, roll through. Pete Brandon, you can see, was 27th, so he made up a few more places towards the end. Bert Chapman in the 321 car, he was 30th. He'll be back out in the F1000s at the end of the day. Thomas Brady Sangster and Wilson James, I think, finished in the high 30-something positions in the end. And those are the final cars. We did lose a few along the way. Matt Suckling is ready down in the pit lane. He is going to speak to our top 3 teams at the end of that GAZ Shocks 116 trophy race.
Thanks, Ian. Yep, down here with race winner Mac Priestwood once again. Mac, of course, you were on good form yesterday, and you've carried that on in the endurance race today. How was it for you?
Very happy. So that's our official 116 trophy end. That's it for the year. So really happy to take it away with a win. We dropped back a bit at the beginning. There was massive confusion on where I was meant to be on the formation lap. I don't know what happened there, but we just came up and started in a bit of a muddle. Just had to get on with it. We weren't sure what the marshals were going to say, as they didn't really put us in the right spot, but got on with it. Slowly climbed his way up. The lads at Anthony Seddon Racing did perfect with the pit stops. Really just cracked on with it. Really good lap times throughout, consistent, really good race.
Yeah, it was a bit confusing, wasn't it, at the start? You had to kind of make your way back through before the race got underway, but you should have been up towards the front of the field, so that's good for you. But yeah, head down, you got on with it, you put those laps in, and you ended the season how you wanted to.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. Well done, Matt. Congratulations on the victory there in that 90-minute race. Let's have a quick chat as well with Sam Carrington-Yates, who looks pretty happy with that, so we'll work our way through, and we'll have a quick chat with Sam. Congratulations, Sam. Second place. Did you realise you were second?
I did know I was second, yeah. Me and Pete had a bit of a battle on the last lap, but he had a 5-second penalty, so I think he probably backed off a little bit, but I had to get him on track. I'm a racing driver, so I had to make the overtake.
It was a fighting drive from you. We have to say that the times were coming down, the lap times were getting quicker, and that gap was getting smaller.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, we had quite a good start. It was a bit of a messy start. Everyone was sort of bumping. It was a bit of a train. Harry got in the car and he got a bit unlucky with traffic. So to be honest, Harry's pace was a lot quicker than what it showed. And then I just had to get in the car and go like mad. Hopefully catch up to the boys. Peter had a 5-second penalty, so he probably lifted off a little bit, but. Yeah, I'm really happy with that result. So pleased for Harry, because this has been coming for a long time, and we've had a few things not going our way. So really pleased for Harry to get the result. But Harry, you can come and have a word as well.
Let's bring Harry into the equation. Harry, a great race there, of course. We saw Sam bring it home, but you had a good part to play in that one as well.
Yeah, very busy in the middle stint there. So many cars on the track today. It's I think record ever for the amount of trophy cars in the race. So yeah, really frantic out there, but really good fun.
Yeah, great season it has been for you, and it's a nice way to end, isn't it, with a podium at the final round?
Yeah, we're all preparation now for race remembrance for us. One last race to go, so fingers crossed for that.
Good stuff. Well done, Harry. Well done, Sam. Congratulations on second place. And if we swing round, we can have a quick chat with Peter as well, another man who did well yesterday within the sprint race. And Peter, you've done well today in the 90-minute longer race with another podium to add to the mix.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, so I had a good time. Car sort of went off a bit in the middle of the race, which was a bit annoying. So lost a bit of pace in the middle of the race, but sort of came back towards the end of the race. But unfortunately, got a 5-second penalty as well. So bit of a nightmare. But I'd like to know where actually I got the penalties, because I didn't think I actually went off that many times. But it is what it is. But yeah, happy with third. So yesterday was going to be a good couple of days. So bonus today.
Sam was chasing you down towards the end, wasn't he? He was kind of getting closer and closer, and you put up a good defence there.
Yeah, he was always going to come in. I saw him come in, and I knew I had the 5-second penalty as well, so it's pointless fighting him for it. Could have had contact or anything like that, so just let him through and then just take the third place. I knew I had it in the bag, so it was all good.
And that traffic towards the end probably didn't help you, did it? There was a lot to get through.
Yeah, that was the worrying thing, because I thought, with the traffic and the gap I had, and obviously with the 5-second penalty as well, I thought they might, eke that time difference away. But luckily managed to sort of carve my way through it. But so they're pretty good. A lot of people got out of the way, and they saw me come in and moved over. So fair play to them, and didn't ruin each other's races. So it was really good.
Good stuff. Well done, Peter. Cracking racing this weekend from all the drivers within the 116 trophy, whether it be the sprint race yesterday or, of course, the endurance race today. But that ends that season for 2024, and we look forward to once again much more from them in 2025. 3 races to go here at Donington Park on day number 2, and up next we're back to shorter racing with the National Lighting Toyota MR2 Championship.